10 o'clock. 06. I did pretty good. You know me. Getting everything ready. So we're sharpening up some bowl gouges. Hope everybody enjoys this today. Turning this piece of sycamore. It's not too hot out here just yet. It will be in a little bit. I do have my do-rag sweat remover over there and some nice cold beverage. So I should be fine. I'm never quite as ready as I want to be, but I don't think that's ever really going to change either. Going to be working on this sycamore piece. I'm going to go ahead. I got my bowl gouges all sharpened. I do want to put them into the handles because I took them out of the handles. It makes it a little bit easier to sharpen on the grinder. So again, throughout the day, questions, pop them in the chat room over there. Not chat room, but the chat column, I guess we would call it. And anything you want to ask me, that's fine. It's all good. That's why we're here. I prepared I've got a 3/8, a half, and 5/8 gouges set up here today. I'll use Carter and Son tools. They're bowl gouges and scraper. I'll use my Easy Wood tools. I mix it up. I use a little bit of everything. That's just the way I am. I don't have a preference. The tool I like the most is the one that works the best for me. I'm going to get this insert out of here. I like using all the tools. And there's some days, for me, I don't know if you find it this way. Some days a certain tool just isn't doing what it did before. I don't know what it is. Too much, not enough coffee. Try a different tool. Seems to work. Now, I understand that they're all supposed to work all the time. But, it doesn't always do that. Now, this tool I did not take to the grinder, but I do want to hone it up real quick on my diamond cart. So we'll do that, and then I'll put it in the tool. A little bit of lapping fluid. Like I said, I was always trying to get all this stuff done ahead of time, and I never do. So, David, the sound sounds good. Thank you. Appreciate that. Good morning, Dave. How are you? Let's see. We'll just hold this up here. We're going to clean this guy up. I feel real bad. I posted that picture of a sycamore piece, and I know it's around here somewhere. Of course, I know a lot of things are around here somewhere because it had a nice rim, and I was going to turn this and then color on that, and I've kind of ruined my own plan. But we'll work it out. We'll get it to come out the way we want. We're going to have a lot of fun. Like I said, as usual, I'll show you a lot of different techniques for different things as we go. This is my belief, there is no one way to do things. There's a lot of different ways to get things done. Whatever works best for you, we all find something that is comfortable and fits our style, fits our personal size, fits the machines we have, how we like to work. I think that's something that everybody adapts for themselves. And that's the best way to go. That's my belief. There are probably those who might not agree with me, and that's okay. That's why we live in a free country. And I'm not even going there. All right, this is looking good. And tried a different camera angle over on the side camera up here today, too. Yep, I've been looking at the footage from last week, which I've almost got done. I have made a couple of mistakes, errors on my part, so that's not ready. I hope to get that finished up today. Trying to get it up on YouTube last night, didn't make it. But I noticed that I kept getting in the way when I would lean over using that side camera. So I changed the location, got a bar hanging up there in the air. I don't think you can see it. I don't see it in the monitor here. A little bit more right there on the very tip of this. This was a tool that I loaned to somebody out at the woodworking show. Another turner was over in a club and he said, "Hey, could I try that tool out?" And I said, "Sure." And I'm not sure what he did to it. And I was going to work on it this morning, and I thought, well, I don't want to spend that much time over on the grinder, so we'll just sharpen up whatever's there, and we'll go on. I'll show you see how zoomed in this is, if you can see that edge. We'll go to our overhead. There we go. And I'll get this right up in there. And you can see, I'll get better at this one of these days. You can see where I've been working with the diamond card right there. The hollow grind part has not been touched. So all I was doing was working on that top edge to bring it back to sharp. Okay. Saves us a lot of steel. I didn't go all the way back. You can see there on that wing. I didn't go all the way back, but I know that I won't be using that much of it, so I wasn't going to spend that much extra time on that today. So I'd say this guy's ready to roll. Drop him in a handle. I think I'll use this for the rough work, getting the bark off of here today. See how that rolls. I'll be happy when the nice weather of fall comes along here in South Georgia. That'll be October, which it is beautiful here it's beautiful here all the time, but it's not hot from about October till April, generally speaking. All right. Put that guy there. Let's go ahead and get this guy mounted up. And let's move this over here. I have the lathe suited or set up for the optimum overhead when I'm turning. So you don't get to always see everything else that's going on. We're going to mount this on a faceplate today. I need to get, this is my Carter and Son center finder. This is 1.25 inches. I need to get one for 1 inch. I love using that thing, but I don't have a 1 inch yet. So I'll get out my screws here, my number 10 screws, and we'll just have to eyeball this guy. There is a hole right there in the center. Okay. Now these screws are fairly long, but I know that I'm going to take enough of the center out of this that I'm not going to have to worry about it. Screws being too long. That is one thing you want to keep in mind when you're putting your screws in. And I'm going to go to overhead so you don't have to, to the front. There you go. You want to make sure your screws aren't so long that they're going to protrude into the bottom of whatever your project might be. These are 1.25 inches. They should be fine. I get one on each side to get started, just to lock everything down. These are these SPAC with a Phillips square, and you can hear I'm using the Phillips drive. It skips a little bit. I shouldn't be doing that. I should go get another drive for these because they do wear out if you don't use the square style drive. Nothing like stripping a screw out, but number 10s are the best choice. I use 8s when I have to. It's much stronger to use a nice 10. We'll load them all up in here. That one we're going to leave like that. Okay. Looking over there, see if anything's popping up. Anybody here turning anything last week that was interesting? If you did, pop it in there. Everybody else can see it. Be happy to know about it. You got into. Just snug that up. If I make this really tight right now, and when I get done turning it and it's smaller in diameter, and it's going to tighten up some by just the force of it spinning, I might not be able to get it undone. We're going to use a tailstock, so don't over tighten them. Snug and secure. You can run your set screw in on your faceplate if you want to. I don't, because I'd always forget to take them out. Bring my tailstock up. Now this has got bark on it, and I'm going to lock this in, and I think this bark is fairly tight. If the bark is loose, if it's lifting around in different places, I'm going to go ahead and take it off before I even start. This bark does, makes it messy. And that's one of the things about doing things that have the bark on them. This obviously is the very outer edge of the tree. This bark looks pretty tight, so I think we're just going to be turning that away. First thing we're going to do, get our tailstock out of the way. We're going to look for a good speed. Turn on our power. We are at, that's 400, 455. I've got a little vibration there at 455. Let's see if we bring her up, if it will go away a little bit. That's not too bad. So that's about 750, and you can see, especially if I switch over here to the end camera, let's try this new end camera angle out. You might see the vibration. Camera's having a whale of a time trying to focus on that. There we go. A little bit of vibration, but not too bad. That'll go away as soon as we get rolling on this guy. I think for the moment, because it's so out of whack there, we'll go overhead. See how that looks for you. That's not too bad. Okay. So we'll be working on getting rid of this ghost image that you see right here, or in this case, you can see it easier out here. See that ghost image? That's what's going to tell us when we get rid of that it's round. This piece isn't too bad. The back side is true. This will be where the bark is. That will be the bottom of the piece. Where the faceplate is right now will be the top. Oh, I should clean my face mask real quick. That's the only other thing I haven't done this morning. Clean my face mask. Well, I say it's the only other thing. There's a lot of things I haven't done this morning, but that's just the way it is. A little bit of the Easy Eye Doctor. Stuff is great. Helps keep me from fogging up so much out here. Tenuous situation at best. Hopefully we're still there. Hey, Jerry. Have you recovered from AAW, Jerry? That was a good weekend. You did great. I'm glad you got the recognition you deserve for your turning efforts. I know you've been working at it hard. Good man out there. Y'all need to check Jerry's work out. All right. So let's go to the face mask. And hopefully, like I say, with the new microphone today, it's going to stay in place like it's supposed to all the time. The sound will stay good. Going to come pop around here. Make sure nothing's touching. I got to drop that tool rest down a little bit. Let's see if I can get this over here out of the way. This is the most time I spent on a mini lathe ever. These Mondays out here, just because I haven't brought a big one in yet. All right. And we're just going to use that. I'll go back and forth. I'll use both this big bowl gouge and I'll use the Easy Wood square rougher just to show you the both tools. I like to mix it up. All right, I'm just going to lay this on here and just use the very tip. Come across the piece. Very gently. You notice I'm standing off to the left of the piece. And I'm going to go ahead and go to the overhead for you. But you see, I'm not standing here where any of that bark is going to come flying off. I don't want to get hit. I certainly don't want to get hit. So let's go to overhead for you. Make sure that looks all right. And right on the back of the screen there, you'll see the tool working. Again, just the very tip is all we're using. Handle the tool is low, locked into my body, nice and secure. All right, I'll stop that so you can see what that's looking like. So you can see we're cutting where we're cutting, and then not cutting, and cutting, and not cutting. So that was bowl gouge. Like I said, let's switch it up. I'll use an easy wood cutter. Tool rest needs to be, or the cutter needs to cut at the center axis. I've got it right there. I just checked it. And all I want to do is get it round. I don't want to take a lot of material away. I'm going to flatten up this top. The camera's having a hard time today. Come on, camera. It's supposed to stay in focus. Cut this face clean now so I know exactly where the top of my piece is. Change camera here so I can talk to you. So I've made this face right here nice and clean. I didn't go all the way into the center, just enough to know where that edge is, okay? Now I'm round except for a little teeny bit right there. I'm not going to worry about that. I'm going to go ahead and start working my way around the back corner here. And my two tools of choice would either be one of my bowl gouges or the round tool, the round #1 hollower from Easywood. So I'll use both of them just to start coming around this corner for you, because they both will do the trick. You need a light cut, and we're going to take these wings, these high spots away, the two high ends, until they match the curvature, and that's going to help us define the shape of our piece. Okay, so let's try the end view in its new orientation there. Now, if it'll stay in focus, let's see what happens when I turn it on. We might have a good day. Okay, I'm going to start with the little round cutter. Just to take this corner off, and then I'll switch over to bowl gouge. So again, I'm going to stand. I don't know if you can see this. Let me change cameras again so you can understand what I'm up to here. I'm going to stand way over here. All right. So I got all this bark out here. It's going to go flying front and back. I don't feel like getting beat up. The bark will actually cut you. I've got some scars from bark. So I can work from back over here completely out of the way. Sure, you could stand right here, but you're going to take all the impact. Don't do that. Stand back over here. You could come at it from this side as well if you wanted to. Just my personal preference is to come in from the far side, the back side, if you will. So stay out of the way, all this flying stuff. There's no need in you getting hit, okay? Go to the overhead. I was supposed to go. That overhead's all out of whack today. End view. I may check a setting on that so you guys don't mind in a little bit. All right. Started in with the #1 hollower. And we're cutting a lot of air. It still has a negative rate cutter on it, not as aggressive as it could be. So I'm going to switch over to a bowl gouge. Now I'm not going to use that big one that I had before. I'm going to go to half inch Carter and Son, freshly sharpened. All right. I'm going to lower that tool rest just a little bit for coming at it at this angle. I'm basically just using the tip. You can see how it wants to bounce because it's missing, cutting and missing. Now you wonder, well, what happens if you come at it from the other angle, Bradley? Well, let's go ahead and do that. We'll change it up. I got no problem with that. If one way might be fighting you more than you want, give it a change, give it a try. Never know what it'll do for you. Let's see if my arms stay out of the way. I think they should. I'm going to use just the tip. Come across on this bark. As soon as I get the bumpiness off of here. Okay. Turn over now. I'll start to use a little bit of wing. Don't have a whole lot of horsepower. I'm used to leaning on the big lathe, so I have to be careful. You can see it's pretty easy for me to stall that if I don't take my time. All right, we're getting close. So this is maple. This was not a piece of sycamore, so I lied to y'all, not intentionally. But it is a piece of maple. Beautiful piece of maple. This is from the maple tree that I had about 4 years ago out on the road at the woodworking shows. We can take some speed up now that it's in balance. I'm going to start on the outside now. Very gently, we'll come in here. Start to clean that up. Need more horsepower, but I won't say anything about that. I'm taking about a 3/8 of an inch cut, which is about max for this 1 horsepower little machine here. Working my way towards my tenon. Okay. I'll just go all the way up to the center and clean this up. Okay. There we go. So I want to take a little bit more off of here. I'm going to get rid of that piece of bark. Then I'll make my tenon. I already know where my top is up here. So I already set that parameter. So I actually need to take a good bit more off of here. So I'm going to go ahead and come the other way. Cutting downhill is actually much easier and cleaner. You can hear that bark out there. I get a little aggressive. Because one of the things you can see that you think, well, this is a platter, and let me show you overhead how much profile we've got. But that I want to kind of mimic that piece that I had in the picture. So you can see we've got a fair bit of depth, okay? Well, I want to make that flat section with the recurve underneath, the hollowed out underneath for you today. So I'm happy that I have that amount of space to work with. So I just about got rid of that bark. That's all that's left of that little bark spot right there. So I'm going to go ahead and take the tail stock away and make my tenon for you now. My other tools in. Here's a good square cutter. Check for center. My big toolbox, and you guys have been hearing me talk about this, is still out at the warehouse. trying not to bring too much into this building because I still got to finish the wiring and get the insulation in and the drywall up. So anything I bring in here, I've got to take out. You know how that goes? Okay, so now I'm going to get my calipers out, and I'm going to set them for 2 3/8. We'll make a smaller tenon today. Change over here for a second. Always like to have a moment to say hello. I know you get tired of looking at just maybe the piece of wood, or maybe you get tired of looking at me. So we're set at 3.5 right now. I've had these calipers for a long time. My dad gave me these. I know he's not here because they've lost their internet out there in Leadville. He gave me these calipers when I first started turning, and they have been a good friend to me. So just a little bit more. 2 3/8 set of jaws with easy wood. I'm going to go to 2.5. Give myself just a little margin for error there. All right. So we'll switch back over to the end camera now, and you'll see how I go about cutting the tenon. One of the things, I love using the Easy Wood square style tool for making my tenon. And when I switch the camera over, let me switch it over to overhead, and I'll show you a couple of reasons why. Put my the calipers down, go to overhead, point in the right direction, Bradley. I'll be using these 2 3/8 jaws. See if I can get this to show for you properly. So when this cutter is about 3/8 of an inch long, and you can see there that it almost identically perfectly matches the jaws. As a matter of fact, if I line up the back of that cutter perfectly, I have about a 1/16 of an inch clearance right there at the bottom, so that I don't touch right here. I don't touch the bottom of the jaws. We don't want our tenon to touch the bottom of that jaw. So this is the perfect size, and Easy Wood, I'm going to say that they did that on purpose, so you can use this tool and not have to measure for your tenons, okay? So now let's go to the end view for this. I know that camera isn't maybe focusing like I want it to, but we'll see how it goes. All right. So I take my calipers and I just give a check. I go, yep. So I just like to make a couple of quick light cuts. See how that looks for you. I'll make a quick cut just like that, just enough to make a mark. And I'll check that and I'll go, boy, that's pretty darn close. Maybe just a little bit smaller because we want as close to a perfect circle as we can get. So that's pretty much right on the money. And that's all I have to do to define the shape of my tenon. Now, sometimes it doesn't like to go straight in, so you can just come and cut sideways, cut laterally with the cutter because you've got sharp edges on all 4 sides. Nothing wrong with that. All right, let me show it to you from the overhead and see how that's showing up as well. Okay, get some of those chips out of there. How's that look? Oh, yeah. So you see, I'll start out here, and I'll use the right-hand side of the cutter. And just come right across. I can go back to the left with it as well. And if I wanted a really flat bottom, I'd be getting that by default. So now we can see that my cutter is just about matching. Got a little bit more to go. So I'll just take a little bit right here. And I want to make sure that this is flat, so I look down the lathe ways and make sure my handle is flat to the lathe. or parallel to the lathe, excuse me. Okay. My length is just right. If anything, I'm going to tick long, but I'm going to clean this up because I want to make sure that the inside of my tenon is slightly concave. I don't want it to be a dome. Standard practice for me. Scroll down here and see if anything's going on. All right. So what I do to check that, I just put my tool across it. And if I see a little bit of daylight in there in the middle, right in here, I know that my tenon is slightly concave. I check my length again. I'm right on the money there. I have a nice flat surface here. I'll take a detail tool and make my dovetail, 10-degree dovetail. This is the little micro detailer, mid-size micro detailer from Easy Wood. You can also do this with your bowl gouge. I've always done it with a 1/4-inch bowl gouge in the past. You can do the same thing. I had one ground just special for it, so I come up right there on that square corner. Okay, I can come in here and clean that up, and we're all good. Alrighty. I think that little guy needs to be sharpened up a little bit. So there's our tenon. Let me switch back to the end. There's our tenon made. It's ready to be gripped. So now what we know is we know that here's our absolute bottom, and we know that here's our absolute top. So we can now connect these two dots in whatever shape we want. We can just make it an arc like a bowl. We can make it an OG if you want, curve back in. That's why I define the top, I define the bottom, I leave the extra material in here. So now I can decide what I want to do with this guy. So I want to leave some flat surface up here on this top side, if you will. This is not perfectly round. I do need to clean that up. I better do that right now, so that I know that this is flat or true and round, because I'm starting to dial in on what it needs to be. Let's see. Use this little guy. It's nice and sharp. Again, cutting with these square cutters, cutting with a corner works really, really well. A lot of times people think you have to use the front edge, but that's not true. All right. So there we go. So now we have that perfect shape, or perfect top. Now I have to decide what my shape is going to be. All right. And like I said, I think I want to put a lip on the top of this guy. So I'm going to use, we'll start with a 1/2 inch. Now I may run into a little trouble with the tool handle hitting, maybe too much tool for what I'm trying to do. And I can't slide my headstock, but we'll see. And if my arm gets in the way, that'd be a bother, but looks like I got my camera set. That was one of the big things. I was trying to get my camera out of the way so that you can see better. So I'm going to start to roll this over and make a flatter section out in here. This section out in here will be flatter, have a flatter profile. Now I can come in here, it won't cut as clean. But if I just wanted to do that, just to get some material out of the way, I can. Okay. I love the way that this end camera location is working for me now. No arm, no shoulder in the way. You just keep working and figuring this stuff out. I'm always trying to get the best views and the best angles for you. And we're doing all this right now with the bowl gouge. I'm going to switch over just to see the show you the difference. If we use the Carbide round tool, which I think of as a sculpting tool, we can do exactly the same thing. And again, I do this because, not everybody has all the different tools. So I like to be sure and show the different ways that you can get there. So this is the mini Easy Wood tool finisher with the round cutter. And it really is nice to kind of a sculpting a profile, if you will. Okay, so now I'm going to start to look, and I'll change cameras here and talk to you for a second about this. Front camera. I'm going to start to look out here at this profile. So I've got a gray floor out there. I can see what this profile looks like. I can see if I've got any humps or bumps in it that I don't like, things like that. Okay. And this is my outer diameter. I'm fine with that. I might take a little bit more away right in there. One of these days, I'm going to show you guys my tool rack over here. It's pretty slick. All right. Go back to the end shot. Number 3. There we go. Now, let me do that overhead for you so you can see this from the overhead. That might be better. It'll stay focused. It's looking a little better. Chips out of there so you get a good contrast. Okay. And I'm going to take this to about 1,000. A little bit cleaner cutting speed. Can't get that tool rest any lower. Would be interesting to leave that band right there. You can't quite see it at the moment. It changes around. That would be an interesting highlight on the bottom of the piece. Give you number 3, you'll see what I'm talking about here. See that band that I've got right now? Not sure what purpose it would serve other than decorative. We could do something with it though, or I can take it away. I voted for taking it away. Okay. It's looking pretty good. Looking pretty good. It's a beautiful piece of wood, isn't it? Is that not pretty? That is pretty. Let's clean that up with our bowl scraper here. It's not bad, but let's see if we can't make it a little bit better while we're back here. I know you keep asking me where's my negative reg scraper. Well, I don't know. I did unfortunately lose, not unexpectedly, unfortunately as well. I did lose a number of tools while out on the road at the woodworking shows because I have the educational booth where these tools are, and then I have the Chroma-Craft retail booth, and I would go back and forth. So these tools would be on display on a tool rack, unwatched, unmanned, unguarded, and unfortunately sometimes things tend to walk away. And that's just something I have to accept. Okay. Surprisingly, I had a better cut coming off of, well, maybe not so surprisingly, a better cut coming off of that bowl gouge. So I'm going to make one more pass, see if I can clean up what I just did with that. Very, very light. A bounce up on the edge. That's 100% better. I may need to sharpen that scraper up. That's so much better right there. That's a nice finish. That's just ready to sand right there. I'm happy with that. Clean up this little edge right here. And we'll call that good. Okay. So that is ready to turn around. I don't mind this being this big. If I want to change that later on, I can. So let's go to overhead while I change things around. Or not overhead, but the front. And I'm going to step out of this mask for a second, get a little fresh air. If anybody has any questions, it's a great time while I'm in between stuff to fire it into the box there and ask away. Let me get over here and scroll down. Without my assistant. Yeah, Dave, it's kind of sad that people take your stuff, but it's life. It's the human race. What are we going to say, right? I learned a whole lot of things adding, look at that. Don't do that. Adding retail. You'd be surprised how many people took stuff out of the retail booth. I learned a lot. And I knew I would, which is what I like about all this. Always learning new stuff. Time for these screws to go. I'm really happy. I don't know if you can tell. I said it's not as hot in here. Last week or week before, it's been, was running pushing 100 degrees out here. Then it'd be about 85 in here because I don't have it insulated yet. It was brutal. It was brutal. Okay, so there we are. That's ready. That's ready. Our little piece. Put a chuck on the lathe. Use easy chuck. Green. Now this is where the fun part comes in. We're making up this design idea that we've got here that I have. Keep that rounded flat section, rounded top, and then dished out and then cut back up underneath with a hollowing tool. So just because a tool says hollowing tool on the label doesn't mean it is necessarily for making a hollow form. I use these curve tools from EasyWood Tools all the time to do what I consider a recurve bowl and things of that nature, just like what we're going to do today. So it doesn't have to be a hollow form to use a hollowing tool. You can use it on a bowl, a platter, anything you want to. So we're changing out our jaws here. Get our 2 3/8 in place. Oh, cool stuff. I just happened to look down at my smock. I have been in touch now with the smock manufacturer for Chroma-Craft smocks. Fabric samples are coming. I think they're going to be really cool. We've been playing with the different color designs, talking about different multicolors with the Chroma-Craft colors. Going to have them just as soon as can. The goal is to have them by SWAT in Waco in August. And they're going to be nice. I'm excited. I've been wanting that for a while. So that looks like it's running pretty true. If I go to the overhead, I don't know if you'll be able to see back in there. My jaws are about 1/8 of an inch open. Let's see if we can see that. Yeah, you can see the gap here. Not a big giant gap. Real close to that perfect circle that we want. The closer to a perfect circle, the closer those jaws are to touching without touching. Go back up here. The closer they are to touching without touching, the more contact area we have going all the way around the jaws. And that's what really, really helps. I've got somebody who was calling me last week, and they're having trouble with a piece that's wallowing, tie-dyed smock. I don't know about the tie-dye part, David. Nice idea. I'll think about it for you. Anyway, he says he thinks his lathe is out of whack, but I think he may not be getting his jaws mounted right now. I think he's getting his pieces crooked, possibly. I don't know. And that can happen. You'll think there's something wrong with your machine, and it really just turns out to be that things are loose in your jaws, or not seated well, not seating flat. That's why I made sure I made that flat profile on the bottom for the jaws to sit well. His tendon may be touching the bottom, and the thing's rocking and wobbling and all kinds of stuff like that. That's why it's important that that tendon not touch the bottom, but be really close so you have as much strength in your wood as you can possibly get. All right, so we're going to clean that face up now. That's our next move. Got chips all over me. At least I put my sneakers on and took off my flip-flops. Safety first, right? And that's overhead. Let's go for the end view. All right, there we go. And you'll see this face come to life here. It'll look real good. Had to have a sip of cold refreshment. Get my face mask back on. We can do this. We can clean this up with any of the tools. Doesn't matter which one we use. We're just going to clean this face up. I'll use the bowl gouge. I'll draw to clean that up. Come right across here. Okay. I am going to go back to 0 just because I changed it and put it in a chuck. Then I'll bring my speed back up. We'll run around 1,000, give or take. Nice reasonable speed, nothing crazy. Just tip of the tool in a wing. Draw right across the face here. Couple passes, this will be clean. Okay. That cleans that face up. Now I have to decide, next thing I have to decide is how wide do I want this rim to be? And to be able to go back up underneath it. Now this one is not quite as thick as the one that I had in the pictures. So I have to think about that. This would have been nice if this had been a little bit thicker right here. And I'm going to roll this over. That's not going to stay square. I just happen to leave it there for now until I turned it around, because sometimes it doesn't always line up and run as true. So I left that. I am going to roll this over around that. I have to decide how much face out here I want, and then we'll take the inside out. And we won't take all the inside out. We want to get enough to where we still have structure and strength inside there. Inside here, we'll take out just enough so that we can do whatever we can do back in here. All right. So I'm going to make that decision, and I'm going to leave it about. I didn't leave it thick enough, unfortunately, for what I really want to do. So let's do. This gives me a little more. I love wood turning because you can change your mind and change the design. And I'm looking at the back side. I'm looking over here as I think about this. How am I going to alter this? Because it's not exactly what I had in mind, had envisioned. So I just made a commitment. So that's how big this top surface is going to be. All right. Now, because this edge is so thin, I think I may take it out to a wafer edge. And I'm going to do the hollowing underneath back in here. I've got about an inch in here, right at that point. If I go to overhead, you can see what I'm talking about. Go to overhead for you. So I've got about an inch right in here. You can see that I can cut back up underneath there and kind of try and make that profile. Again, it would have been nice if this had been a little bit thicker right in here, but it's not, and so be it. That's what we've got. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and profile this away. But I love wood turning because you can just sit here and change your mind all day long. I'm going to roll that edge over. And I think I'll go around and bring a little bit of that away in the back as well. Put a little profile in here. Can I get my tool? No, I can't get my banjo around the back, so I'm going to have to sneak in there. Am I still in overhead? Yeah. So we'll come around here. Okay. That'll let us get in there. And I think I'll use Carbide to make this change here, because I can use the round cutter and I don't have to worry about having my other tool hit the headstock, because I can turn this tool in any direction, if that makes sense. So I just want to change this profile right in here. And smooth this out, roll this over. You see how I'm doing that? Just very gently. Taking that sharp edge away. Clean this to where you can see really well. So you can see how I'm just rolling this around now. Take that sharp edge away. It's a nice radius profile here on the end. Okay. Good deal. That's nice and smooth. It's got a nice feel to it. I'll come around here to the face now, and I'm going to clean this up the best I can. Reaching across. My bowl gouge. Drop that tool rest down. Tool rest go any lower. There we go. A little more speed. And I'm working that little slight profile the whole time. All right. Curious to see what the scraper does to it. I'm going to sharpen the scraper real quick. I know I did it last week, but I'm going to hit it real quick with the diamond card here and see if I can't get a better cut out of this that I want. And out of the way for a second. I know I'm talking to. There we go. Just a quick cleanup on the scraper. Didn't cut like I wanted it to before. Let's see if we can't make us just a little bit happier. Keeping that card flat. All right, let's see what that does for us. I'll give you the end view now. Number 3. There we go. Raise that back up to center. See if that won't clean up for us. Beautiful piece of wood. Just trying to get those tool marks out of that section. There we go. Okay. Pretty. Now let's go inside this guy. Let's take some of this middle out. We're going to take some of this away so that I can then carve back inside here. Again, I can use any of the tools that I have at my disposal. I think I'll use this bigger 1/2 inch. 5/8, excuse me. So we're just a tick low, I think. I brought her all the way down. Let's bring her back up just a little bit. You can see our screw holes are still there, but they'll be gone shortly. I'm also looking at the back side back here as I do this, thinking about where that edge is going to be, how thick I can leave this. Again, I'm not going to go all the way in. I just want to get to what would be the backs here, the depth that I want. The wall thing is to hollow. Again, if I had the carbide style tools and not a bowl gouge, I would just use the round style tool. Be a little bit low for that. Let's raise our tool rest up. Let her come up to speed. Tool rest is still a little bit low. Bring that back up. There we go. All right, looking over the top. So I'll show you this on if I got the double-ended calipers here somewhere, I'm pretty sure I do. I'll show you what I'm doing, and I'm actually leaving some extra room. I'm leaving a little extra thickness because I want to have as much support as I can get, and I know that I need my wall thickness that matches on the bottom. All right, let's stop and check this for thickness. He's supposed to have them. There they are. Let's see if I go to the front. You'll be able to see this the best. So if you can see that, what would be good? There we go, the black. So that's how thick it is right here below where we're going to be hollowing. So we're going to be hollowing out up underneath here. And so you can see we're right at that lip. We're almost an inch thick probably. And then when we come around below it, right in there, a strong 3/8. So that's fine. So now my next move is to go ahead and come inside here and take some of this out and get up underneath here just to make that profile. It won't be as deep as the one in the picture on Facebook, but it'll still give us that profile. And this is our platter top that could get all the embellishment and the color, okay? So it's still coming together. It's not exactly what I started out with in my mind, but you get that sometimes. You know what I mean? So what I will be using, get down here and find my number 3 hollower, the large one. All right, I prefer this one. As long as this cutter is not too big in diameter for what I need, I like the bigger, thicker shaft in the Easy Wood Tools number 3 hollower. It's got a standard cutter on it. Okay. So we will go, probably best thing is going to be the end view again. If I get this thing going the right way. That should do the trick. There we go. Get that where we need it. That looks pretty good. Right at center. So now I'm looking at the opposite side. Can't see the cutter, but I can see the opposite side. So we're reaching up underneath that ledge there we're making now. I might switch to the smaller one, actually, if it doesn't have a negative rake on it, and it doesn't. That's a little bit large in diameter, so I think I'm going to come around with a little bit smaller cutter. I think I might get a little bit easier to do what I'm trying to do. There we go. Much better. What happened was I was touching, I need to tell you this, and then I'll show you. If you're touching all 180% of one of these cutters, they don't like it. They vibrate a lot. So this radius in here is pretty tight. So on the bigger cutter, I was touching it all the way across 180 degrees, and it tended to vibrate. So when I switched over to the smaller, it has a CI5 cutter on it. All of a sudden, no vibration, cuts a whole lot better, makes it much easier. So sometimes that's why you have to have the different sizes to fit what you need to do for the task at hand. And then I'll roll the cutter around to blend that in, that bottom. Because I always want to cut with the very end of the cutter right there. Trying to keep my arm out of the way for you. And roll around like that. Okay, so now I've created that profile, that recurve underneath there. I'm going to go a little bit further. I know I'm eating up the time here, but I'm going to go a little bit further. I'd like to have a little bit more in there. and roll that around. Okay. And I think that'll probably do the trick. I'm going to stop there anyway, for sake of time. All right. And it's neat how the bands come across the top and still show up in the bottom. All right, back to my bowl gouge. Off we go. So now that I'm done with that whole Saturn ring up top, I can go ahead and start taking some of this out in the middle, give myself a place to work to set my depth. Let's see, that one vibrates. So let's go to the bigger one after all. Wherever I hid you. There you are. Keeping an eye on my wall thickness back in here. Don't want to get too thin. Have things go crazy. Getting close to my final depth for the bottom. All right, a little more tool than I need in there. And you can start to hear that pit, thinness of that wall. All right, let's stop and check and clean out the cavity. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. That's just about where I want to be. Getting real close to it anyway. So I need to blend. There's an edge right here. You can see it right there. I need to blend that edge in. This is the one I always hit in reverse. All right. That's real close. I'd like to fun. I'm going to use my small gouge. I'm going to run my tool rest way up inside here and see what I can do when I come in here with this little teeny 3/8 from Carter and Son. If I can get in here far enough without touching anything. Okay. See how that feels? That cuts that grain a little bit cleaner than that Carbide did. I'm going to clean up that section right there in the very center. Blend this in. Nice light cut. Did we get that blended in? There we go. Check that real quick. Oh, that's so nice. Okay. And again, if you wanted to use your bowl type of scraper, clean up some of your tool marks, you can do that. So I can't get those chips out of there. Nothing wrong with using this as well. Flush that line, move across there. Smoothing things up. Okay. All right. I'm pleased with that shape. Very pleased with that shape, actually. So if I wanted to sand it for real, I would sand it right now. I will run through some grits just real quick, just to clean it up. I would use electric sander, but I don't want to make all the noise. We'll hit it with some 120. And I have a piece of 220 back here. And that's all we'll do. Then I'm going to put a little dye on. I'm going to put a little aerosol dye in probably colors on this. So I'm going to turn the speed all the way down, put it in reverse. Of course, I did that when it was moving, so it has to stop and rethink. It always gets mad at me when I do that. There we go. All the way down. Again, I would normally use electric sander on the foam pad. Clean that right up. This is as low as speed as it'll go on this belt setting. I would normally sand about 50 RPMs. It's about 450. Around the corner here. Again, I'm not going to go crazy on this. I'll resand it again later. Okay, make sure you don't have any sharp edge right there. Okay, so we got a little bit of a tool mark right there that will show up. Again, if I was sanding with my electric sander, rotating that would come right out of that. You don't need to sand past 220 when you do die work because your finish is what's going to make it smooth. As long as all your scratch marks and your tool marks are out of the piece, you're all good. 220 is perfectly fine. Again, I'll be doing this with electric sander, taking my time. This is just to show you that, knock her down with a little bit of sandpaper, get all the marks out. When I put the dye on here, you'll see whatever tool mark is in here or end grain that isn't completely smoothed out just yet. The dye will tell you the truth, make a liar out of you if you didn't do it right. Okay. I'm going to do that inside a little bit more. The inside needs some more work, but we're not going to go there. All right. Let's blow the air out of here. I got my air right over here. Got some wormholes that have sawdust in them. I'll go back to the end view here real quick for you. I know some people wonder how in the world can you put put dye on a beautiful piece of wood, I go with a brush or aerosol. I really don't have a lot of trouble with it, personally. This Ambrosia Maple really looks good when it's dyed. So I'm going to find one of my paper bags here, cover up my lathe, and we'll put this guy down there. You shouldn't really spray the dye on your lathe. You should take it away. I don't have a work table in here yet. So I'm going to do it on the lathe. I will take the chuck off so I don't color the chuck quite so much. Doo-doo-doo-doo. All right. What do I have for colors? I grabbed a couple of colors next door. If you don't want a piece to take, these are Chroma-Craft aerosol dyes. You don't have to brush them on. If you don't want the wood to take so much color, or you want to seal between color, there's a clear sealer that you can put on, and it's got a little bit of resin in it that's in the dye, so it's compatible with the dyes. That'll help seal it up. You won't take in nearly as much of the color, and it makes it a little bit more uniform. It's just clear. It's in the same category as the dyes. I don't think I'm going to put any on there. Okay, so I have black, and I'm going to test these. These are early models, and they just have little faded out stickers on them. That is black. That is red. And I think this one is magenta. These are from the early days when Chroma-Craft is first getting fired up. Those two look the same almost, don't they? Those are both red. So we may be red and black today. Okay, let's go with that. Because our black will shake both of these really well. They've been sitting around for a while. I think I'm going to put the black. I'm going to put the black on the outside, because then I can come back and put cloud paint on it. So if I dye this cloud paint, or I can use Chroma Gild on top of the black. And the red shouldn't affect the black on the inside. So we're going to do this real quick and easy like. I said black on the outside. So I don't want to. I'm going to fill this inside here. See if this will work. This is what I had in mind. Kind of fill that up so we don't get any black. I'm going to throw this over here. It'll work. Try and keep it off the headstock. Yes, Bradley is going to color a beautiful piece of Ambrosia Maple. Not real heavy. Now, if I really wanted to, I could also spray this black, which if I wanted to do the cloud paint, I would spray it lacquer black. But I don't want to completely hide all the grain here, okay? So this is just a light splash. The alcohol dye dries really quick. Don't know what the colors look like on the other end of this stream. Make sure I've got all the inside edge. Now, optimally, we'd wait for this to dry, and then we would mask off the outside. You could cut a piece of cardboard or a piece of paper bag would be great with a hole in it, and then you could just tape off that edge. Things like that to mask that off without having to get crazy. Of course, I don't have that much time today. Okay, so again, I'm not going to mask up underneath there. I'm just going to spray up, and it'll hit that very edge a little bit, but that's okay. If I had my airbrush out, and I actually brought it from the warehouse today, but me running out of time as I do. And you have much more control with the airbrush. With the airbrush, you would have no issue. You can drop right inside here and not even think about touching that outside perimeter. So I'm spraying up underneath first. And that's going to run down a little bit. And I'm going to look around here and see if I have a brush to brush that around. I love Ambrosia Maple and color. It really works well. Let's see. Let's spread that around a little bit. Okay, so that's more uniform. All right. Now, with some highlights out here on the black, be it a cloud color, the gild, you could do stencils and more colors. You could airbrush your stencils on that rim. There's lots of different things you can do. I'm going to put another shot of this red in here in a minute, let that soak in. So the black gives us a background to add other colors to. Gives us something for those other, especially the iridescents. The iridescents need a black background to work on. Or if you were to texture this, you could put it, because it's still got the chuck on it or the tenon on it, you could put it back in. You can take your sorbet texturing tool out and you can texture it, and then fill your texture with other color. There's a world of things that you can do with that black rim. Okay. I'm going to put a little bit more in here. And again, by making that recess, you can see that it made it really easy for me to make this two-tone without having to do anything crazy. I didn't have to mask it off or anything else. I'll pick this up a little bit closer to the camera now. Get that in there for you. You see the black is drying. Dick, if you just got here, here's our profile for what we've turned. All right. You could just gloss this up. You could shoot this. Now, again, it needs to be sanded for real, but we could spray some gloss lacquer on here. And I think I might do that just for fun. I'm going to let that red dry for a little bit, just a couple of minutes. I'm going to stop at noon. That's my goal, is to not spend more than 2 hours of your day. And I think I'll spray a little bit of clear on here just for yucks so that you'll see what that looks like. And my clear is right there. So I'm going to turn this out here so I can talk to you while we wait for that to dry. If there's any questions, you guys fire away in here. I like the dye color. So David, are you using any dyes right now? You've been working with it? Because it's a lot of fun. Lots of things you can do. Firecraft now is a Grex airbrush dealer, so I'm going to be I've got it, it's right over there in the box. I'll be using the airbrush out here. I'm really excited about that alignment with Grex. I've been using the airbrush out of the woodworking shows, the Grex airbrush at the woodworking shows. And so now happy to have it in the store and be able to use it out here. I ran a little bit out of time this morning getting ready. And I was like, I was so close. I was so close to try and get that to where I could have the airbrush set up. But let me get my lacquer out and shake it up. Okay, let's throw a little clear on here just for fun. Again, I'm going to actually turn and sand this whole thing back again. Let me get it overhead so you can see what's going on. Dummy. Gives you a little bit of an idea. The angle, the lights are kind of bright on it. Let some of that soak in. It's interesting that black almost looks like a chestnut brown on this particular piece of maple. And it might be a brown, but sure looked black when I sprayed it on the cardboard. Again, to get the light, the shiny light off of there, you can kind of see the color. So it's a nice contrast between the dark on the outer rim and the reddish magenta on the inside. As you guys know, working with colors is one of my favorite things to do. Yes, Dick, these are alcohol dyes. These are the alcohol-based dyes. Just about out of lacquer. That rim is actually beautiful. Just natural like that. With the spalting in there, or the ambrosia, excuse me. And I'm kind of flooding this, obviously, to make that shine up, and I know the lights are making it tough. Let me see if I hold it up here close without the light on it. Don't want to make you dizzy. Look at those colors that are coming through there. With natural dark colors. I'm staring at one of the spotlights as I do this. So, again, being sanded, if it was sanded to 220, it was, but not quite completely finished. Excuse me. Then you sand the lacquer back a couple of times until it's flat. And this is how I always did all my high gloss lacquer pieces. You sand the lacquer back and put about half a dozen coats on just like that without any more sanding. Let that dry overnight. Sand that lacquer back and you're flattening the finish. You spray half a dozen coats on and then sand it the next day with 220 again. And you're flattening or leveling the finish here. And so instead of worrying about the wood, that gloss comes up and the smoothness comes up because you flatten the finish. When you spray it, you have these peaks and valleys. And what you're doing is cutting the tops off the peaks and filling the valleys in your lacquer finish. And that thing will be just like a piece of glass. And then once you get the finish flat, then you can just add as many coats as you want for depth. You can tint your lacquers and put other colors in. You can do all kinds of things, build ghost shadows. You can spray, you can use an acrylic paint or lacquer paint. You can get your airbrush and put designs in here. Lots of different things you can do. Lacquer is really forgiving. So I like it. I think it's fun. That, again, is super simple to keep it easy and quick for us. I had a ball. And it is time to shut this down. 11:57. I got it done before noon. So it's a good thing. Look for this to be up on the YouTube channel. I've been finding it takes a little bit to get 2 hours worth of this edited up and get it out. But it'll be up this week is the plan. I will see you all next Monday here at 10 o'clock. Don't know what the project is yet. Watch the Craft page. You'll see I always do an announcement on my personal page at 9 o'clock on Monday morning. But we'll see you here next Monday, and thank you very much. Have a good day.